Then we have the theoretical framework. So we have the first theory as the transformational leadership theory, that is BAS. And then what is the meaning of it? They propose that leadership inspires a shared vision, motivates innovation, and then we have the intellectual stimulation. Then the second theory is that we'll be looking at the organizational culture theory. And then it also explains that every organization develops a unique culture. And then it also talks about the fact that culture influences employees' behavior and practices. Then this is my conceptual framework. So from the screen, you can see we have the school leadership, digital school culture, and then ICT integration. And the relationship is that school leadership is being mediated by digital school culture. That will improve ICT integration. So we have the school leadership as the independent variable. Then the dependent variable is the ICT integration. That is the outcome variable. And then the mediating variable is the digital school culture. That is what we use for the hypothesis. So we're moving on straight to the methodology. So we have the research paradigm is positivism, and I chose that because it aligns with quantitative approach. So we have the approach as quantitative approach. The research design is cross-sectional survey design because it's a one-time collection of data. Then we also talk about the population. All teachers and head teachers in public basic schools in Ghana. Then accessible population talks about basic school teachers and head teachers in Bekwai Municipal, Ashanti region. So the study area, we have Bekwai Municipal, the sampling size, it will be determined using the Crochan's formula. Okay. So methodology continues, sampling procedure. So the study area was purposely chosen. So we have this purposive sampling, and then the schools will be chosen by simple random sampling. And then head teachers will be census. And then we have the teachers stratified random sampling. Then we have instrumentation through structured questionnaires. Data analysis, we use descriptive statistics and then structural equation modeling. That is the same. Expected findings. So school leadership is expected to influence ICT integration. And then we also have digital school culture to mediate the relationship between school leadership and ICT integration. In conclusion, the study will say school leadership is a key determinant of ICT integration. The influence of school leadership on ICT operates through digital school culture. And then strengthening digital school culture can support effective integration in basic schools. And here are the references. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Salome Abuajeta. We will take the next presenter or presenters, Emmanuel Osaya Jenny and Samuel Tuju Abuaje. I did it. 10 minutes. Please, our presenters, if you are here and you've not given your PPT to the IT staff, kindly do that so that we can progress. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, professors, doctors, and scholars. I'm Emmanuel Ajeni, first year M4 in Educational Leadership Scholar. The topic is the impact of headmasters, leadership styles, communication, motivation, and working conditions on teachers job satisfaction. Introduction. Teacher job satisfaction is essential for quality education. Certified teachers are more committed, productive, and motivated in doing their work. Good leadership style, communication, motivation, and working conditions instantly influence teacher job satisfaction. This study focused on 4 senior high schools in Asante Mampong municipality. Background. Teacher job satisfaction affects teaching effectiveness and student performance. Poor leadership and inadequate motivation reduces morale. Effective communication promotes collaboration. Good working condition enhances teachers' commitment and retention. Program statement. Many teachers experience low satisfaction because of lack of motivation and good working conditions. High workload, poor communication, limited motivation, and inadequate working conditions on teachers' job satisfaction affect performance. There are limited empirical evidence in Asante Mampong based on my research that I have done. Purpose of the study. The purpose of this study is to examine the impact of leadership styles, communication, motivation, and working conditions on teacher job satisfaction. Objectives of my study. 1. To examine the effect of leadership styles on teacher job satisfaction. 2. To assess the influence of communication. 3. To determine the effect of communication. 3. Examine the influence of work conditions on teacher job satisfaction. My research questions. 1. How do leadership styles influence teachers' satisfaction? What is the relationship between communication and teacher job satisfaction? How does motivation affect teachers' satisfaction? How do working conditions influence teachers' satisfaction? My literature review. Leadership style, transformation leadership style, positively influence job satisfaction. Bass et al. 1985. Communication. Open and effective communication improves trust and teamwork. Vicker et al. 2013. Motivation. Financial and non-financial rewards improve job satisfaction. Hesbeck et al. 1959. And that the working condition adequately facilitates manageable workload and enhances job satisfaction. Spectre, BE 1997. Theoretical framework. Transformation leadership theory. Bass 1985. Hesbeck two-factor theory. 1959. Maslow hierarchy of needs, 1943. These theories explain how good leadership, motivation, communication, and working conditions influence teachers' job satisfaction. My conceptual framework. This is my conceptual framework. So, all the independent factors have an influence on teachers' job satisfaction. That is the independent variable. Methodology. Research approach. That is questionnaire. I use questionnaire. Research design, descriptive survey. Sample techniques, stratify and simple random sample. Data correction instruments, structured questionnaire. Data analysis, species statistics correlation, and multiple regression using SPS, statistical package for social science. Corporation 600 teachers in all the 4 senior high schools in Asante Mampong. Sample size, 300 and 234 teachers were selected using Morgan et al. 1979 statistical data for statistical tables for data correction. Expected findings. Good leadership style positively influence job satisfaction. Effective communication enhances teamwork. Motivation significantly improve commitment. Good working conditions increase job satisfaction and retention. Recommendations. School leaders should adopt transformational leadership and practice. Improve communication between management and teachers. Increase teacher motivation through incentives and recognition. Improve social facilities and working conditions. My conclusion. Teacher job satisfaction is influenced by leadership style, communication, motivation, and working condition. Improving these factors will enhance teacher performance, commitment, and educational outcomes. These are my references.
Hello.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much,
Oh,
Mr. Emmanuel Osei,
good
for your
evening.
presentation. Okay, so we'll take the next presenter, Francis Adogla Peter Pa Kofi Iyale. Okay, so Francis is presenting in this.
Good afternoon, Prof. Chair, professors in the house, and my fellow colleagues. My name is Francis Adoglan, a PhD candidate. I'm here to present on the topic mechanical performance of kaolin, metakaolin stabilized nitride block. I'll be talking on this outline. Background. According to the United Nations Habitat 2001, one of the major global housing, one of the major crises we have now is the housing crisis we have in this 21st century. This is because over 1.6 billion people live in inadequate housing, plus about 100 million are homeless. Why is it so? Many articles have been written that it's because of high cost of burden. Nevertheless, laterite is abundant and it has been used according to research, and we've seen it practically that there have been laterite burden which are still standing over 50 years and the rest. And laterite, according to Gidigasu, which is not here, is covered, 70% of Ghana land is covered by laterite. But how are we utilizing it in order to close this housing deficit? It can be used by when the laterite is being compressed in order to increase the strength of it, because our most fear is that when we build with the laterite, it might not stand the test of time. Problem statement. There have been more lucrative ways or research of improving our laterite block in order for us to use it by stabilizing it with agrochemicals that are going with like eggshell powder, like corn husks, and other fibers in order to improve it. But the problem is, it is when it's added, it's still very low in compressive strength, very poor in tensile strength, and still high in moisture sensitivity. Previous studies, as I've said, primarily investigated cement, lime, kaolin, metakaolin separately. But what they fail to look at is looking at them under the same laterite and under the same lab condition. So that brings me to my research gap. Existing studies focus mainly on cement only, or laterite, or kaolin only, or metakaolin only. They fail to compare the two to see the impact each is having on the laterite block as a stabilizer. So my gap, this is the gap I'm intending to close. What's my aim? My aim is to evaluate the mechanical behavior of laterite block stabilized with kaolin and metakaolin separately for low cost housing. For me to achieve my aim, these objectives were set. To characterize, first, I'll characterize the laterite soil. I need to diagnose the type of soil I'm using. As when we go to hospital, the necessary lab works must be done for you to know your lab books and stuff. So the laterite must be characterized, the kaolin must be characterized, and the metakaolin too must be characterized. When I'm done with that, I'll evaluate what the mechanical properties. That's what the compressive strength and what the tensile strength of it. Then finally, I will take it to what internal mechanism of the block. That's to study the internal, what goes into the block as it's being molded with what the stabilizers. So I went to the lab. From what you can see, the first fig 1 is my laterite I bought. And the right, that's the fig 2, is my kaolin. What happens is we get the metakaolin from the kaolin. So I cannot do, the metakaolin is not a material on its own for you to go and get. So how do you get the metakaolin from the kaolin? Researchers have proven that when you heat or you calcinate the kaolin to a ratio of between 750 to 856 degrees Celsius, you get the pozzolanic content and it becomes metakaolin. But unfortunately, when I sent it to the Ghana Geological Survey Department, their oven there is not having the degrees Celsius. So you can see 1,472 Fahrenheit. When you convert it, you get the 800 degrees Celsius. And the fig 4 over there is talking about the metakaolin. So that's the difference. The kaolin is quite whitish. After calcining it, it becomes a little darker, but more finer. So my work is experimental work. So I went to the lab. After going through the laterite, calcining the kaolin, doing all the lab tests on all the 3 materials, the laterite, the kaolin, and metakaolin. I did the mixing, molding of the blocks, and I went through 28 days curing. What happens is, I know the agitation might be, why not the secondary curing? This is part of my initial work. The secondary one, I went to the secondary curing, which is 120 days. Then after 28 days, I just scratched for the test. That's the mechanical testing and statistical and the same analysis. So basically, this is what I arrived at the lab. The moisture content, which is still the ring, the PI, the GS, the MMDs, the OMC, and the free swell. And all this laterite satisfy the grading requirement for stabilizing improved engineering performance. So when I sent, I needed to confirm what literature said about what kaolin and metakaolin. So I sent both the kaolin and metakaolin to Geological Survey Department for them to get me the oxide component, the chemical oxide component in it, for me to have that confidence to proceed. So that's the result. Very good. Over there, for you to have that pozzolanic content, your silica and aluminum oxide must be what? Around 65 to 70. So when you can see over here, the kaolin is giving me 62 and 28, and metakaolin giving me your 66 and 25. When you add this, or even when you do the comparative analysis, you realize that the metakaolin after really will be impacting more than that of the kaolin. And I did molding of the blocks with the control kaolin and metakaolin. As I said, my gap was to compare this at the lab with the same materials as others did with different materials at different labs. So I first did a try test, which I didn't put here because of the number of limited slice number. I did a try test, and the highest compressive strength fell at 10%. So because of that, I deduced the calculation that I must do stabilize the dosage to be 3, 6, up to 15, so that I will know exactly where the maximum strength will be applying. So I molded the block using the hydraulic press. That's the stabilized blocks in the shed over there, and that's one of the compressive machines I use in crushing at Stakrade Highway Lab. So after, these are my findings. After crushing, for the compressive strength, the control, that is when you mold only the laterite block to build, it was giving me less than 1 Newton per millimeter or megapascal, 0.79. But at 9% of stabilization, I got 1.8. And at what 12% of metakaolin stabilization, I got what 9.9. That tells me that the metakaolin and that of kaolin, they have effect on the laterite block at different dosage as compared to previous studies. And the graph there is showing when you do at the point when it falls, meaning that I understand. The split test or tensile strength is the same thing. The maximum felt at what 9% for kaolin and 12% for what metakaolin. Then I use the HC3 robust two-way analysis to analyze my results, which all gave me p-value to be 0.001. Both stabilizers, which is telling me that both stabilizers type, that's the kaolin and the metakaolin, significantly influence the mechanical behavior. Just to confirm the graph that came earlier. Likewise, I sent the piece of the light block to Takwa UMAT for them to do the same analysis on it for me. It was shown over there to that the control has a loose matrix from the picture from 15 as compared to 9% kaolin, which is a little bit closer particles as you've seen over there. But metakaolin of 12% gave what a denser block. That supports the argument that it gives what a stronger block. Conclusion, both stabilizers work better than the control. So 9% for kaolin, 12% for what? Metakaolin. Recommendation, now if you want to board and you want to use laterite and you want to increase the strength, you can use kaolin alone if you don't want to go and calcine or hit it. Kaolin use 9%, metakaolin use 12% for the pozzolanic materials. These are my references. Thank you. But before I put the mic down, I continue to introduce fiber, which we'll talk about later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis Adobla, your team. So, can we have the next? Is it this? Dagmar Kusia Boatin Sapon, et al.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon, fellow scholars. My name is Dagmar Akusia Boatin Sapon. I'm a second year Master of Architecture student at KNUST. And my research topic is about everyday urbanism in track.
Hold on, please. Let them reject it. Let me start. Drop the issue and get back to you, please. Yeah, so we'll take set okra, et al. Set okra, yeah. Set okra is done here. Okay. So we can take the next. Obu Suka Benedicta. Benedicta, you're here. Okay, please. I announced it twice. Any people? You have 10 minutes to do your presentation.
afternoon, Chair, scholars, and everyone present. I'm Obusoka Benedicta, a second-year postgraduate student, architecture, KNUST, and I'm presenting on my topic, addressing perception barrier to bamboo adoption in Ghana through architectural interventions. So this is the order of my presentation. Okay, so from my background, deforestation has been the order of the day globally and also in Ghana. So in Ghana, the construction industry highly depends on timber and then hardwood, which has caused 120,000 hectares of land loss every year. So I have a diagram. So the map here shows the loss of our forest cover from 2017 way through to 2020. So despite the loss of our forest cover, bamboo has been an alternative to it because of its maturity period, that is 3 to 5 years. And then despite its abundance in Ghana, its utilization has been limited. So the problem here is that although bamboo is available in Ghana, but it's limited to its negative perception among stakeholders that it's a poor man's material, and also the limited treatment method that will be used to treat it, and then it will be taken into our main construction sector. And then also the critical deforestation issues that is happening in Ghana, and then the lack of processing infrastructure that can process our bamboo, available bamboo into value-added products. So my aim is to examine how stakeholders' perception of bamboo influence the adoption of it into our construction industry. So my objective will be talking about to assess the perception of stakeholders, and then also to address the adoption barrier of bamboo in construction, and then how architectural interventions can help solve these problems on ground. So moving on to my methodology, I took pragmatism because this is a real problem on ground. That is our deforestation issue, and also the mixed use approach. So I was using more of the quant, that is the qualitative, that is to interview main stakeholders in our construction industry. That is the contractors, the engineers, the architects, and then also the artisans who are also into the building sector. So from my literature review, bamboo is a sustainable material because of its growth rate, and then also because of its regenerative features, and then the maturity period. And then the perception barrier also is the concern of bamboo's durability, because untreated bamboo has susceptible to insects and then also fungi. But the treated bamboo last longer, or also can be compared to the timber that we use over here. And then the last is the architectural strategies, that is having a treatment facility that will help process our bamboo, and then also a demonstration hub where bamboo can be demonstrated and be showcased to create awareness to the general public. So from my findings, knowledge of bamboo exists, but access to the formal technical knowledge of it is missing. And then also stakeholders recognize bamboo's potential, but their confidence is still undermined because of its treatment. And then also the adoption barrier because of the infrastructure gap, and then also the training facility gaps, and then the processing gaps that are not available. So some of the architectural interventions that can help bridge this gap is the demonstration buildings and research facilities, and then training areas, and then the processing facility that will help process this available bamboos we have. So from my discussion, the perception barrier of bamboo is purely not attitudinal, but it's because of the treatment, the lack of standards of bamboo, and then also the training facilities that we lack in the country. And then also architecture can act as a tangible proof to bridge this gap together by having demonstration buildings where stakeholders will be informed or have awareness of how this material can be used in our construction industry. So to conclude, bamboo's limitation adoption in Ghana is not a failure of the material, but it's the failure of the infrastructure, the standards, and the perception of people towards it. So in academia, we can integrate bamboo into architectural curriculum to teach and then to also create awareness. In practice, we can use demonstration buildings to also build confidence among clients, among people, and then also among the stakeholders in construction. In policy, we can develop a national bamboo strategy where we have codes and conduct that govern the use of bamboo in Ghana. And also in society, we have to run public awareness so that people will be able to have the knowledge of bamboo like the way we have for timber. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Benedicta, for the presentation. So we'll take the next presenter.
Good afternoon, Chair and the House. My name is Douglas Day Bedu. I'm at the Department of Languages, Wesley College of Education. I'm presenting on the language of final goodbyes, a lexical analysis of pronoun usage in suicide notes. This is the outline of my presentation. Now, with the introduction or the background, we ask ourselves, why suicide? Why suicide notes? Why suicide notes? Suicide notes because they are very unique. Suicide is a period that shows a transition from life and death. It is a period where a person is really suffering from psychological distress. So it's a unique period that needs to be studied. It is essential because studying suicide notes helps the forensic linguist to be able to ascertain the authenticity of the notes. Sometimes we hear that a person has committed suicide. The person left a note behind. is it really true that he wrote that note or he was murdered? So the work of the forensic linguist is to ascertain the veracity of the note in order to help in investigations. So as I've said, this study falls under forensic linguists or forensic linguistics, which talks about the science and the science of language to uncover the hidden motives behind suicide notes. With the statement of the problem, studies on suicide began way back in the 1900s. That is globally. It began way back in the 1900s. But locally, it gained ground during the 2000s. But what has been observed is that the studies, most of the studies globally, they really focus on content words. In most cases, they focus on content words, but not function words. Then secondly, their themes were usually subjective, as we've said, and also the themes centered on apology, blame, and also love and pain. And the third aspect is that much as they concentrated on content words, in Ghana, the studies that have been seen so far hardly also concentrate on content words. So it is the focus of this work to really look at a study that used or focused on function words. Function words are little or minimal elements that on the surface look a bit insignificant. However, they are very important. So it is the focus of this work to look at how function words have been used to explore suicide notes. The study seeks to find answers to the following questions. What is the quantitative profile of personal notes or personal pronouns usage in corpus of suicide notes? And two, how do these frequencies correspond to the themes that are expressed in the suicide notes? The study is based on Pennebaker's theory of function words. And the core premise of this theory is that even though function words look a bit insignificant, they are very, very important. That should not be treated in isolation. And the theory goes on to explain that content words in general, that is verbs, nouns, adverbs, and adjectives, they generally tell us what the person is saying. However, function words like pronouns and prepositions and others, they tell us what is in the person's mind. So function words are a bit psychological. They lead us into the minds of the person, what is happening in the person's mind. And more so, content words are also seen to be a bit so easy to manipulate, because traditional grammar will tell you that verbs, they really give rise to new members, verbs and adverbs. However, the function words are always fixed, so they are not easy to manipulate. For this reason, whenever a person uses these pronouns in a note, it means that really belongs to what the person said, because it cannot be easily manipulated. So this study is a mixed method, but it is qualitative dominant. What I sought to do was that, in the first place, I made a lexical frequency of the pronouns. I used the ant count 4.0 plus 2. It gave me all the pronoun counts in the suicide note. Then also, the ant count tool also helped me to take a look at the context in which the pronouns were used, because those contexts will help me to do the qualitative analysis. The suicide notes were 5. They were 5. In fact, they are very hard to come by. They were 5. They were sourced from online. And for the ethical consideration, in fact, suicide is a period where a person loses a dear one. So it is not ethical, in my view, to bring the names of those victims in the work. So what I did was to expunge all the names of the victims or the authors who wrote those suicide notes, in order not to offend the sensibilities and emotions of the loved families. So, with the findings, quantitatively, I arrive at the I is greater than U, and the U is also greater than we. To explain this further, it means I had a hierarchy where the first person pronoun was dominant. I got as many as 74 instances, which on the average is about 15 pronouns per note. With the second person pronoun, I had 18 instances from the 5 notes, which on the average represents 3.5 pronouns per note. Then with the first person plural we, us or our, it was almost unavailable. Just 3 of them. But it is not for no reason that they were just 3, because it indicates that in the world of the suicide person, or the person who is about to commit suicide, it is always about I. The person is at that point of death, it is only left with the person. No you, no us, no society. It is only I, and what goes on through the person's mind. Now, these are the themes. Qualitatively, since the I is so dominant, the first person, in the first place, it was used to indicate blame or self-blame, isolation or agency. These are instances. I have failed woefully, in block letters. I don't deserve to live. These are used to blame, or the person uses this to blame himself or herself for what the person is going through. So, apart from blaming the person himself, the I is also used to communicate emotional pain or isolation. Examples are here. Everybody dislikes me in this world. The world is no more interesting to me. So here we can easily see that the person is going through emotional pain through the use of the I, or the first person singular pronoun subjects. When we come to the you, the second person, it is usually used to make or to give posthumous instruction. This is a person who is at the point of death, yet the person is still giving instructions to the one who is living through the use of the word or the pronoun you. Examples are here. Please take care of this baby as your own child. Help my family. With the help my family, there's no you, but since it is giving an order, imperative, there is the implied you there, which you will not see here. Hustle to hold the family. Here too, there's an implied you. The person is giving instructions to the living. Then the you is also used to make apology or to seek forgiveness. Please forgive me. That is, please, you forgive me. I'm sorry, forgive me. That's, I'm sorry, you forgive me. Then the third theme with the you is enduring connection. Love you all. Gifty, thank you. The person is at the point of death. Yes, he is expressing love for the living. Then the we, which is elusive or simply non-existent. We have just few instances. Let's meet once again. God bless us all. So here, even though the person is at the point of death, he or she is expressing what? A hope that there will be what? Reunion in the afterlife. But what we can say is that since the we is absent here, it means there is no collectivity or no collectivism. It's about the person alone, but not the society. The person is alone at this point in time. Okay, so to conclude, this study is very significant in the sense that, one, language is not always about the rules of the language. Language should be used to solve societal problems. And this study really helps to achieve that aim. It provides insight into the mental state of the deceased. Then it also contributes to forensic linguistics, which helps us to ascertain the veracity of notes which border on criminality and legalities. Issues like death threats, suicide notes, doctored tapes, they all fall within this area. And it is the duty of the language researcher to help to explore these areas in order to contribute to the society. Thank you very much. You can scroll so that you see these are references and a sample of the notes.
Thank you very much.
This is a sample of the notes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Douglas, David, for your presentation. We have one more presentation to go. Okay, so I think whilst we wait for the last presenter, we'll open the Q&A session so that we don't waste much time. We have one more presenter, I think it's outside. So now the floor is open for question and answers. So if any of us here has any problem.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chair. Well, so my question goes to, I think, the second presenter, Beta, who will talk about morale. I wasn't about the presentation because initially I thought she was still at the proposal stage, but I saw Beta presenting results also. So can you let me know whether you did the research and actually you have done analysis and for which you were presenting results? Thank you.
Can the presenters come forward at least come in fight so that we would direct the question at you? They will don't go fishing for you. You can come to this side, please. So
thank you, Prof. Please, the findings and then the results, they were expected findings. the work is not done yet, so they are expected findings.
That's okay.
Was this something that was required as part of the conference to put expected results there? Was it a requested thing? As part of proposal, you have what we call expected outcomes. They are not the same as expected results. It's expected findings. So if it's like that, okay. So I'm following my app, not you alone, better I can join them. It goes for almost, you too, the educational leadership. It seems all of you did work that you are not yet done. You are the proposal stages. Good. So that is it. And then you were also even talking about recommendations. The recommendations were supposed to be expected, but they were written as if the studies were done. Now my concern is, now I'm narrowing it to you. We are looking at about 4 variables for your study. You are looking at motivation, communication. You are looking at there's another one, working conditions, and then its relationship to job satisfaction. This educational leadership, the variables are too much. I was just looking at how you are linking communication to job satisfaction. Communication at workplace, is that what it is? I'm just looking at the variables. And then your theories. That one, I think it may go for all of you. If you look at your theories you are using, you use transactional theory, isn't it? Which of you? No, is there transactional? Was that? It's unfortunate you can. I saw about 4 theories for you. Also doing educational leadership, isn't it? What theories were you using? The one with the mismatch courses. Good. Good. I saw all of them. You use transactional. Good. Instructional theory. Instructional theory. Can you tell me about instructional theory? What is it?
Okay, so instructional theory, leadership, they use it to check instructional quality, how they should assess teachers on how they teach students the outcomes so that they will get good outcomes.
Okay, so and I saw it is followed by transformational, and then your last one was what?
Teacher self-efficacy by
Good.
Van
Yeah, the
Buren.
self-efficacy. And then you were also using about 4 theories. Good. Which of them had the constructs that are so close to your study? That there were too many. I could see that you could remain with, even if you take transformational leadership. You know, that is the emerging leadership theory that is currently being pursued. Transformational leadership theory. It has a lot of add-ons, and even within the transformational leadership, you know, the 4 constructs that are there, that could be enough to be used for your study. Or is it something that is recommended to you that when you are doing this study, you need so many theories like that? I don't know, even PhD level, there were too many. So you end up not touching on the constructs that are there to guide your study. And then I also realized that your objectives were totally away from your theories. You cannot do a research using a theory that your objectives will not touch on it. Your theories should be in fact, it should be, your objectives should come from your theory, so that you end up discussing the theories as part of the study. So you have different objectives, and then you have your theory there, and they are not linked. So when you want to use a theoretical framework in a study, the theoretical framework's its constructs should be your objectives, so that you are now going to tell us how, because we say that the studies are always anchored on the theories. So that's also another thing I observe with all of you using the theories. You never use them in your objectives. The objectives were somewhere. Somebody had only 2 objectives. Which of you? Good. Why? Yes, it's a proposal, but it's something you intend to do. That's so it also takes me to the link between your objectives and the theories. The theories have constructs. If you took your time to read the theories, see that there are parts of it. I could see that when you were linking your theoretical framework, you also came out with conceptual framework. I was following all of you. Realize that you had about 4 leading to job satisfaction. So which of the theories were giving you those 4? I could see that one of the theories were the ones you were using the constructs. So go and look at your work where it's a work in progress. You haven't finished. Go and look at them and see. That's why in theoretical framework discussion, you discuss all the theories, then talk to readers that these are good, but this theory does it better. This theory is touching this one better. Therefore, I'm adopting this one. So that we know that these theories could be used. But this particular one or these 2 were very good in the entire work. And then we'll make it fine. Now, I also observe very outdated literature in your presentations. Especially you. I'm following you because, I have nursing administration. That's my background. That's why I'm touching on these things. So we all have the same thing. Is administrational leadership and all of that. I saw very old literature. So if these are old, I saw 87 and 90 something. So what were the current literature in your thing? Because you summarized the literature, but they were very old, your references. So finally, it goes to your references. Poor referencing style. Which were you using? I saw some of them where you were referencing the full name of the author in text. An author's reference should be only the same name in text, not what I saw 1 PE. I noted it very well. I didn't write it down, but I noted them. Spectre PE. So you should have mentioned Spectre because it's in text citation. Now with your end reference, the final referencing, you just listed them. This is an academic work. Fine, it's the beginning, but you should have referenced it properly. I'm sure you are following APA, isn't it? Good. So the American Psychology Association, that's not how we cite sources. It should have been properly and fully cited. I didn't see the journals where they are coming from. I didn't see the titles of these citations. You only listed their names and the years that were there. So these are some of the comments for all of you. Please make sure you use up-to-date references, at least 5 years. If your area is so scanty, you can go 10 years. But for you to do 80 something, it means that those problems have been solved. If we still have that problem up to today, because you are looking at job satisfaction, it's one of the common areas of research. Everybody wants to do if the teacher or that particular person is satisfied. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience?
Okay, thank you very much. Douglas, I think this is a very nice presentation. And I'm very happy because you chose this topic. It was something we were just discussing informally, and he has taken it. So I think sometimes this is how, this is how we get our topics. It can even be a discussion between you and your colleagues, and then you can get a topic. But my question is, you were looking at pronouns, and then I think so far you talk about only 3, I, we, and you. And I know we have other type of pronouns. Didn't you identify any other type of pronoun in the suicide notes, except only these 3? Thank you.
Thank you very much. In the first place, the focus of the work was to look at personal pronouns. Yes. In fact, these were the notes that these were the pronouns that I was able to generate through the use of the AntConc tool. Yeah, so I was able to generate these types of personal pronouns. You could even see that the we was hardly seen. The we was hardly seen. So these were the pronouns that I was able to generate.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Letters and or suicide notes in your search. Did you come across something like that?
Thank you very much. During the presentation, I said that suicide notes are very difficult to come by. In fact, during my search, I came across numerous suicide stories, but hardly will you find the notes. I've seen countless of them, but as many of them do not leave notes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jay. To Douglas, please. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation. Just a few questions to satisfy my curiosity. You mentioned earlier in your presentation that your study so far, you saw that there was lack of quantitative work on functional words. Then later in your work, you also mentioned that you are looking at qualitative and quantitative. I mean, can you clarify this one for me?
Okay, thank you very much. What I said was that, as far as I'm aware, most of the work that I had seen, in the first place, they focus on content words. Then, apart from that, I also saw that they did not really focus on the quantitative aspect of it. It was mostly about the theme of.
I mean,
yes, it was mostly about the theme.
Another one to help you probably. You talked about AntConc 4.0, and you mentioned that your data size was 5. I mean, I had 5. I'm looking at the link between AntConc and the 5. So word count probably would have helped us. What do you think?
Please, again, so that maybe I would if I were to.
Your work used AntConc, right?
Yes.
4.0.
Yes.
So I want to find out, is the work actually a corpus-based work?
Ideally, this one is corpus assisted. It's not corpus based.
Then the last one, what will happen if you change this work to a qualitative work? Because I saw that the work was more geared towards qualitative.
Agreed. But I said that it is qualitative dominance. Thank you very much. I'll think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My question goes to Madam Bamboo. Okay, so you painted a very nice picture of using bamboo to replace some of the normal materials we know. I want to find out from you, have you considered how it is planted or cultivated? How long it takes? And also the fact that it is an economic plant which also protects water bodies. If we should shift attention to bamboo for construction, how do we ensure its sustainability and the sustainability of our water bodies? Thank you.
Thank you too. Okay, so I'll start like this. Bamboo is not intentionally planted because it grows naturally. And then bamboo is a regenerative grass. So when you cut it down, it grows itself. And then because it's grown from a single rhizome, so when there is one, it turns out to spread out itself and then it grows. And then also it takes 3 to 5 years in maturity. So within 3 to 5 years, it's matured for cutting. And then after cutting, because it has its same roots deep down the soil, it matures back. And also in terms of sustainability that you are talking about, bamboo itself, in terms of climate emission, carbon emission and things, it absorbs the carbon emissions and whatever as compared to the timber that when you cut and whatever. It also filters the air that we have. And then along the water bodies, because it normally grows along the water bodies, so it doesn't really affect it, but it helps the soil around the water body and also the water body itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I would like to bring out a contribution concerning the PowerPoint slides that I saw. It wasn't, should I say, very pleasing to the eye. The words were, I don't know how to say it, but the justification was not there. The color work, there was one that I saw white on green, which couldn't read at all. So please, when you are preparing the PowerPoint, take into consideration all these things. The font size also, then font style also throughout the PowerPoint. Then I saw some spelling mistakes in some of the PowerPoint presentation, and I was surprised because maybe you couldn't read through it before you came to present. Please take care of that for us. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Mine is with the woman who did something on bamboo. I think we have so many types of bamboo. Bambusa vulgaris, via vitata, we have bambusa bamboos. So are you generalizing it? Or here, are you focusing because they have different mechanical properties? So is it a generalized thing you are talking of, or you have a specific bamboo you are talking about? Thank you.
Thank you too. Okay, so in Ghana, mainly the main species of bamboo over here is the Bambusa vulgaris. So they are the dominant one over here. So that is what I'm talking about, since that is what is in our climate zone.
Any other contribution or question? Okay. Oh.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my question goes to the one who presented on the laterite, the blocks. When you started, you talk about cement and other forms of ways of making blocks. And then, but in the comparison that you were doing, you were looking at kaolin and metakaolin. And then you came with the various results that you presented here. In Ghana, you know, we are used to using cement blocks to build. So I thought that the analysis that you've done, you show a comparison so that we know if I'm going for a cement block, how better will that be compared to me using the laterite block that you study. So I think that that will be good, given the fact that when you started, you were making a case for your study. You talk about the other materials that we use to make blocks. Then my next question has to do with the one on bamboo. When you started, you said you are an architect, you are doing architecture, right? And your study is on perception. So is it a marketing aspect of architecture? Then Abuaje, I see that it's curiosity. I'm very curious. I see you are Abuaje. All your two supervisors, all your two co-authors are all Abuaje. Is it a family or you? It's a coincidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, mine is coincidence.
Coincidence. Okay. Abuaje and Abuaje. Thank you.
Thank you. So the perception here is talking about the awareness and also the knowledge of the stakeholders in construction about bamboo and then its use and then why it's not adopted in our construction industry. So that is the perception, the mindset, the awareness, the knowledge, the understanding of bamboo into construct.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Abdul Rashid Idrisu. People call me honorable member. Actually, this is my first appearance today. My issue has to do with the fact that bamboo take a minimum years, or let's say 4 to 5 according to my sister. So if you compare it to the normal trees we harvest from the forest and process it to timber, you realize that some of them will take a minimum of 25 years. Some of them will even take more than that to be matured before they can be converted into timber. So in layman understanding, you realize that if we adopt the bamboo to the normal timber, that one will be more cyclical, or let's say sustainable as compared to the other one. So the I am supporting my sister for her study. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Honor. Any
Thank you. I'm Eben from Mampong. My lady mentioned that bamboo is not intentionally planted. But I also know of eco-plant bamboo, that they plant a sort of bamboo in the Agogo, around Agogo area. I don't know whether have you taken the time to look at it. Thank you. So you can Google eco-plant. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Any other? Doc, oh, okay. Any other question? Yeah, so I have one question I wanted to ask Douglas. So what's your motivation for choosing this topic? Suicide notes.
My motivation.
Yes, for that study.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very short. Yeah, yes. Okay.
We shouldn't see informal traders as a problem as we see them currently, because they boost our economic infrastructure and then they also support livelihoods. And so as such, whenever we are designing or planning as planners or architects, we should include them, we should provide spaces for them so that it can help reduce the number of road accidents and then them risking their life. The study therefore came up with a conceptual framework looking at the theoretical lens of everyday urbanism, what it entails, that the spatial adaptation, informality, and then the trader space interaction. Here, it comes down to look at market outcomes, that's the circulation, accessibility, and resilience, and then how planning implications can be adapted. That's, we should include them. We should also provide flexible spaces. So another people who were actually being neglected were also the thrift traders, the people we normally call the full sellers. So they said that even when they are giving structured spaces, that is shops, they are not comfortable because normally they sell on the ground. So as architects and urban planners, when we are designing a market, we should provide an open space for them. They will do the normal demarcations, and then also it is going to help them. Currently, our KJTR market has refused to solve the issue. When you look at the current plans, spaces were provided and a flexible space was provided for those people, but then now it has been sold. And now the issue is the circulation parts are being sold to them and they are now really selling there. So in the terms of accidents, it becomes a problem, just like the current fire outbreak that led to them not being able to evacuate or get access to the actual sources. So these are the methodology methods I used and the key findings from what I stated. So now the discussion is the gap between formal design and the lived reality. We designing to suit the users of the space, not designing to make it look pretty or look accommodating. Yes, it could be pretty, but what if when we are neglecting our traditional people, what is the essence if they are not being adapted into the space? And also it has also brought about the exposure of we seeing informal trading activities not only as a problem, but as also an economic boost. And then also the critical insight being markets being an important facility in our country. So these are the planning strategies for future planners, future implementation, future architects, and future designers. We should provide affordable stores to reduce the number of informal traders. We should make pedestrian and circulation easier, flexible trading facilities, emergency access very easy, and participatory planning with traders. When we are designing, we should ask them, we should make them aware that we are designing to suit them. And so when they see the design, they know that, oh, I was part with this process, I was asked questions, and the problems I stated has been resolved. So the central argument is resilience in traditional markets depends on the ability of redevelopment strategies to recognize and integrate everyday spatial urbanism. We should integrate them not because we want to make a lot of money, but because they are very important and they are part of us, and then human resources are very important as well. Thank you. These are my references.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, Prof.
What did you actually do?
The research seeks to solve the issues of informal trading activities. So the people who are not giving structured spaces like shops to sell, and then those who are giving shops but they are unable to sell because that is not how they sell, like the thrift sellers. So they tend to sell along the road in order to make them comfortable. And this has led to a lot of accidents, has led to a lot of congestion within the market. And then when there is fire officers are unable to access these facilities. So this research seeks to solve that issue by giving them enough spaces. Those who don't need structured spaces are giving spaces that will suit their trading facilities.
You are proposing a design.
No, we are proposing, yes, a design one and also implementations in planning. Like they should be recognized when they are planning.
You are an architect student then?
Yes, I'm an
Good.
architect.
So you are proposing
Yes,
a design for them.
Yes.
What about those who are just right at the front of the market, but they still bring their product from the store to the space there? Do you consider that one as
So
also?
those who sell on the corridors,
I have
that's
a
what
store.
you mean.
Somebody sells in front of me, so I decide to also bring my things to the space there.
Yes.
Outside.
So research was done, and then those people normally buys the circulation spaces. They don't just go and take it because on a normal day they will not allow you to. So the reason why they buy it is because they also want the exposure. And then it is our part of the world, the corruption aspects of it, because that's the circulation space and it is not allowed. So the only solution now is to make sure the government and other important people
Anyway, my
implement
last
it.
one, because time is fast spent. You said you did qualitative and quantitative.
Yes, please.
What type of mix method did you do?
What type of mix
method did you do?
I use qualitative and quantitative.
And you said you did mix method. Mix method has types. What type of mix method did you use, or you didn't come across it?
Sorry.
My thing is very clear. I said, what type of mix method did you use?
Explanatory. Okay.
No. No.
So no. As in the type of research method I use
You
for
said
them,
you were
both
pragmatic.
qualitative. Yeah, pragmatic.
So it's mixed method.
Yes.
And there are types of mixed methods.
Okay.
Exploratory. Which one? No.
Exploratory.
Which is not correct. So go and look for it.
Okay.
And then see. And so I was expecting to see the qualitative bit of it, to see some quotes from your people. Okay. How many themes did you generate?
4 themes.
And what were some of the quotes to support that? These are, because this is a conference presentation. So at least, and what were the themes based on? Were they from what we call, what analysis did you do? Was it thematic or content?
Thematic.
Good. So what were, I also observed the same thing with them. Your objectives were not matching with your theory.
Okay.
So if it is, that's why you call it thematic, because there's a theory. That's why you are basing your analysis on that. I didn't see those things. And so type of mix method, the type of qualitative you used in the mix method, I didn't see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so I think because of time, due to time, we'll end the session here. Thank you very much for your participation in this session. So I think the next session continues from here. Please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. So, due to time constraints, we are continuing the next session. So the convener of the conference says they will bring the lunch to you. So please, let's be patient and continue the next presentations. So we now move to the 4th session, and I'm Professor Edmond Ajiman. I'll be the one chairing this session. We have about 7 presentations. So we have Michael Asante and others, Margaret and others, Paul Amabre and others, Bismarck Mensa, Emmanuel Asamoah Ado, and Onaja Daniel Mensah. So please, if you are here, you come close, and then please kindly give your presentations to the IT people. You have 10 minutes each for your presentation. So we invite Michael Asante to come and start the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, please. What we're going to do is that we are continuing with the second session. I think so that we'll move very fast and finish. We are arranging for them to bring your line to you here, so that we don't.
Good morning, Chair, and again, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Michael Asante, and I'll be presenting on the influence of age and gender on basic school teachers on the utilization of digital tools for instruction in the Kwadaso municipality. So my study will be focusing on how teachers can use digital tools. But in most times and then in literature, we mostly find studies on how teachers can effectively use these digital tools for instruction. So I am saying that digital tools are increasingly central to classroom instruction worldwide. Ghana's ICT in education policy commits to technology integration at every school level. That's the Ministry of Education 2015. Despite this, ICT adoption among basic school teachers remains being under 2012. Findings on age and gender effects remains conflicting across Ghanaian studies. As I already stated, most studies focus on how teachers can use these tools instead of considering how these teachers, either male or females, how they can integrate these digital tools to teach. So the statement of problem, we are saying that the digital tool utilization among basic school teachers remains low, despite national ICT policy support. Although the Ministry of Education has provided a lot of efforts to make sure that with the standard-based curriculum that is being introduced, teachers will use digital tools, but yet we don't find some of these things. And then I'm saying that age and gender are often cited as influencing factors, yet findings across studies remain conflicting. Limited studies have examined how age and gender jointly influence digital tools used in the Kwadaso municipality. So this brings about this study. This gap limits evidence-based planning for teacher training and technology support locally. So with the purpose of study, I want to look at how to examine the influence of age and gender on basic school teachers' utilization of digital tools for instruction in the Kwadaso municipality. So with the research objective, we're talking about how to assess the level of digital tool utilization among basic school teachers, and then to examine the influence of teachers' age on digital tool utilization, and then thirdly, examine the influence of teachers' gender on digital tool utilization, and then the fourth one will be to determine the interaction effect of age and gender on the use of digital tools. So the research objectives are stated below. What is the level of digital tool utilization among basic school teachers? To what extent does age influence teachers' digital tool utilization? And then thirdly, to what extent does gender influence teachers' digital tool utilization? What is the effect between age and gender on the utilization of digital tools? So, this study is being underpinned by these theories: technology acceptance model, and then the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology, and then the digital natives or immigrant theory. But this study will be based on the unified theory of acceptance and use of technology. how teachers would accept or to embrace these digital tools. And then we come along with the conceptual framework here. So we have the independent variables here to be age and gender, and then the dependent variable to be utilization of digital tools for instruction. And then the mediating variables here, you have attitude towards ICT, self-efficacy, and then perceived usefulness. So I'm saying that gender has a direct impact on the utilization of digital tools, and then age as well also has direct influence on the use of digital tools for instruction. So with the methodology, this is how I'm going to structure this study. So it will be based on the positivism, and then I'll be using the quantitative approach, and then followed by the descriptive correlational survey design. It is how the study is going to be. So with the study area, it's going to be based, or it will be based in the Kwadaso municipality right here in Kwadaso, in Ashanti region in Ghana. And then the target population will be basic school teachers in the municipality, and then I'll be using the stratified random sampling. And then the sample size is going to be determined by Tracy and Morgan after the data has been collected. And then the instruments going to be used here will be the structured questionnaire. So this is how the information will be analyzed. So I'll be using the SPSS, and then descriptive statistics, frequencies, percentages, means, and standard deviations. And then the sample t-test will compare the utilization between male and female teachers. So these are the ethical considerations that will be enforced during the study. I'll make sure that I'll seek you consent first before engaging the teachers, and then as well make sure that the information or whatever is being given to me is kept anonymous and then confidential. And then participation will also be voluntary, and then they have the right to withdraw at any time, and then ethical clearance will also be sought from the institutional review board. So these are my references for the study. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. So the next presentation is from Marty Margaret.
Good afternoon, Chair.